Hello, my name's Ralph and welcome back to the channel. It's my time, let's go. Today we're going to be looking at getting our engine buttoned up for Margaret, and I'm getting pretty excited, and by the end of the day I expect to have it flashed up and running on the stand, which is very exciting. So stick around as we finish up the final things and see if she's going to run. So we got our pushrod tubes all ready here with their spring in there and the spring seat. A small washer in there that goes along with it that helps keep it from cutting the rubber, and I'm using these blue Teflon sort of seals. I've used them often and they seem to work really well. Now our push rods, it's hard to see from this angle, but I have them laid out. Two are the same. Well, there is a slight difference. The same. These two are about the same, and these will be our intakes. And the next longest one will be our rear exhaust, and the longest reach is this one for our front exhaust. So we're going to get ready to put those in. So I always like to give the top of these a shot with assembly lube. The push rods are not dry in there to start with. We're going to go with our rear intake first. Here we've turned the motor over, so this one goes down the farthest and the front one has risen up to its highest point. So we know that this is the lowest point. Assembly lube on the top of the push rod where it seats up into the rocker arm. Won't be dry either. And quite often with these blue ones they don't want to sit up in there, so we just put it on the tube for now while we get these in place. We'll just hold it up there. Adjust our lifter out. I've taken everything off and wire wheeled it all. My soul, they seem like a long ways out there. So we want to adjust this just so we can spin the push rod. And we know we're going to have to do some adjustments as we go. We've got her snugged up at the bottom there. Not tight yet. Just where we can turn it with our fingers. We've got these other sort of lifters in there, so it's hard. It's trying to turn the bottom as well. Just spin it with our fingers. Now when I lift this up, I'll lock these down in there where I can hold both pieces. It's hard when they're down inside like that. It's hard to get a hold of the lifter body, and one of these has a lifter kit in it, a solid lifter conversion kit in it. So we've got to hold this part down here as well and lock the nut to that. And it's hard to get it when it's down inside like that. So we're just going to take some fiddling around, but I'm going to leave it about there now where I'm at. Can't really get a hold of that and lock it. So when I rotate the motor over to do this one, I'm going to lock that one. So let's do that now so we can work on the front one. This one's going down, and you'll see this one come up. That's at the top of the stroke, which means this one is down all the way. All right, let's grab another one. Another short one. Yeah, we need our rubber in there. And right before I go too far, you can see that this is up now so that I can reach that. So I'm going to lock it there. Get a hold of this. And I don't want the top one to move. I'm going to hold it. There we go. Been a little while since I played with solids. Same thing, it's hard to get down in there to hold that. So we're just going to get it where we can. Snug it up there. just so I can spin it with my fingers. There we go. Okay. Now this one is up here where I can grab it. You want it to be at the lowest position, which this one is at now because this is up to the highest position. Dead giveaway if you can see the bottom of the lifter. You get your wrench on the second lower part. You're not at the lowest position. And again, we'll roll it up to lock it. Want to get this other one off. Now I can get a hold of it down there. All right, now we're locked. Now we've gotten it pretty well up in place here. There. Now, as you can see, we've powder coated the bottom parts of the tubes so that they're sort of inconspicuous with the cylinders. And the top part are shiny, of course, which are like the aluminum heads there. All right, so there she is. So another step, now we're gonna get the carb together. Low pressure gauge. Get one of those on it, and we'll start hooking it up and turn the thing over, rotate it over, and make sure that everything's working the way it should. So once again, I'm beginning to second guess myself. There's a lot of thread showing up here, and it's a long ways up. And when this push rod comes out here, the angle is dire. I mean, the angle is very, very sideways, and it would always thrust out this way on it. And I just couldn't live with that. So I started looking around in my junk for other push rods, and I have quite a selection of them there, you know, left over the years from different sorts of things that have been done, changed, and with the older stuff especially, changes made through the years. Quite often, you know, a set of a conversion set, or whatever you want to call it, would be sent with its own push rods. And then things get mixed and matched. Now, these ones did have solids in them, but I think they were taller units, whereas I think these are a different sort of unit. And it just seemed like when I set them, I had so much thread showing up through here that it really bothered me. And I thought with the pressure that'll be applied to it and stuff, that just can't be. So I've opted to take it apart, have a look-see here, and I've got some other push rods that I've compared the lengths with. I've laid them out side by each to see what they look like. I think if I use these, if they'll fit, see, that's one of the longer ones, so that's an exhaust one. A short one here for an intake. Now these will go in there. So I'm just going to take a minute here and just try to show you some things about push rods, and you can see what I ran into here with this one. And there are some different kinds that'll be easy for you to identify if you look at, so maybe I'll just run through a couple things here and show you. Our regular adjustable push rod was like this. Just ball ends on them. So those are sort of standard for a solid lifter in the earlier models. And they're all certain lengths. Sometimes you get them with 3 different lengths, you know, 2 short ones. Sometimes you get them with 4 different lengths, and they go into the appropriate spots on there. So your standard type solid lifter like this will use a push rod like this. The small ball goes into the end like that, and the top ball goes up into the rocker arm, the ball in the rocker arm. All of your adjustment is made here with these. to move it out and adjust your length to set your push rod lengths. Now those push rods ran for quite a few years, you know, from the 30s right up until we switched over to hydraulics. And hydraulics were great, you know, and this is typical of a hydraulic lifter. Just has a little spring body here, and it fits into the body here like that. This is your bottom roller. Your bottom lifter has now changed from this to this with the hydraulic lifter in it. Now, little trick with the hydraulic lifters, if you're trying to get the hydraulic in and there's pressure on it that you can't get it in, just take a small needle and stick it right in the bottom of it, and that'll allow oil to come out and release the little check ball in the bottom, and then you can get it down. Funny, this little clip is something that, you know, I looked at it again this morning. I picked it up and it says Zost on it. You know, I lived there in Germany in 1968 and played. I was only 14, but I played with the juvenile hockey team because I had the opportunity to, and we traveled through a lot of Europe, and this was one of the pins that was given to me to pass out and to share with other players wherever you went. If you went to Holland, if you went to Switzerland, wherever you went and played, you all had these little pins that you changed with each other. So it's funny how you keep things, and I keep this stuck in a certain place, so every time I need it, I have it to use and put a smile on my face. Okay, so with the lifter in the body, you can see how far that's down there. Now look, comparing it with our solid lifter body, we can see that the length of the new lifter is quite a bit taller. The original type would use an adjuster like this, and this is how you would adjust it down, basically adjusting this down about 100,000ths of an inch to get preload on it. So they were pretty well standard in that sort of configuration. Once we went to the hydraulic lifter, the difference in the length is quite obvious. So when the hydraulics got worn out, people didn't want to run them anymore, and things weren't working right. A quick solution was to put in what they call the solid lifter conversion. Now that entailed a lot of things. Very commonly, there was this one here. It had a spring in it, and then the lifter went down on it like that. Now they say the spring, you know, and gave you that little bit extra. You had to be a little tricky when you were just setting up your push rods to find that happy medium, that halfway mark, to get them to just work right. But that was quite common. With those came this kind of push rod. And you can see there's an adjuster on the end of this one as well for adjusting your length. But the bottom of the push rod was quite large. It fit perfectly into this pocket. There was also these types. And I think these are S&S, these ones, which were little ones like that, and they basically just went right down in there and replaced the unit. With those, we used the original hydraulic push rods that you could use with them. So now we've got that kind of one in there. Again, now we can see the difference in the heights. And we can no longer use the push rod for this one anyway, because of the different type. So these ones will have to use the hydraulic one. Now we'll go back to the hydraulic unit here and stick it in. Oops, gonna relieve the pressure. Now as we look at these, we can see with our wheels in place in the same place where our adjustment point comes. The other type I have on the bike, which were an insert that just went in here, and it had the adjustments on it. So it was sort of like this. I'll try to get a little better picture off the bike, but the adjustments were built right into it, right off the end of this. Again, they only stuck up about this far. Now because they stuck up, they were the same way, and the adjusting area was about this much. Now as we can see, this here was where our adjustment begins with our push rods in the configuration that I have on the bike using the push rods. This is where the other set would go for this type, and the original set, and the original long set, you know, used a push rod. So you can see how short we are here. This would have the adjuster built right into it down there, you know, a little bit taller than that, about the same height. So you can see that this one is taller. So our pushrod distance is quite a bit of distance. And when I get to adjusting the adjusters on that particular kit that is on the motorcycle, we ended up with the adjusters way out like that in the air on here, trying to compensate for the length of the pushrod, which is about this much difference. So in most cases, your pushrod kit will come with specific pushrods for it. So if you run into the situation like I did and you put that in there and you go, okay, there we go, and you know, all kinds of this thread is showing, then you know you've got the wrong pushrods. You know, there were pushrods made for different sorts of reasons. There was also stroker pushrods and stuff that they suggested for longer cylinders and such, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to be into the regular standard type of setup. To reiterate, there was just your solid sort of early lifter. Your solid with a conversion in it that used a pushrod with the adjustment on here, solid like that, which in turn used the hydraulic pushrod, so your adjustment was in the pushrod itself. So it's a little thing, but I thought I'd just take a moment and try to point those things out and maybe save you some grief in the long run. You just never know when you're switching and swapping parts. You know, fortunately I had a box full of push rods, and as soon as I realized what was going on, I changed back to the other ones. But you could find yourself in that position where this is sticking up so far, that far up, and you go, man, that's a long ways up. And I really don't want to leave it like that, because when you get to the front angle, what happens is that your angle, instead of being sort of like this, looking at it from an angle on the bike, instead of it being like on an angle like that, it became like this, to exaggerate a little bit, but that's what it was. So each time it would try to push down there and eventually pop out or break this off, because there's not much left still inside the body. So regular solids, regular pushrod. Pushrod kit like I have on the bike with the adjusters built in, which slide into the same thing. A little longer pushrod, looks the same but a little bit longer. These hydraulic adapters have a big nut on them, right, to fit into that pocket. Not to say that you couldn't use this, but again, you need the adjustment, so you have to have this kind of pushrod to go in here to give you that adjustment. And lastly, the S&S type one. All does the same job, all needs different care and attention. All right, let's get back at it. So I'm going to swap some of these push rods out, because I'm thinking that the set that's there for solid lifters may it be for original types of solid lifters and not something with a conversion in it, which I'm beginning to think these are. I know these are, because the units will come right out like that. So it's a solid lifter conversion kit, and the push rods made for the solid push rods appear to be way too short for this application. I mean, you're going to get some thread sticking out, but now that's more like it. Now I only have this much thread showing. And I'm going to put my long one in. It's always the long one for the front exhaust. I don't know if I'm down all the way. I took that out. Yeah. There. There's always an angle on the front one, but when you're out that far on the threads, you know, they say, I think you should have a 1/2 inch of thread inside, is what they suggest. And I don't believe I had that. And I think that it might have started up, it might have ran, but down the road, pretty sure it would have spit that push rod out, broke it, perhaps. Yeah. Now we're looking at this much thread, just very short, like a 1/2 inch of thread. So, I'm gonna do them all. And you know, I see examples of this, and people will just leave it, say, oh, that'll be all right. Won't be all right. Might be all right to get you out the door, but sooner or later it's going to cause a problem. And you can see how much thread I got showing here. It's a ridiculous amount of thread. And now we got a better angle happening there. kind of thing that you almost got to go with your gut feeling, you know. If you don't think it's right, if something's odd, don't let it go. So, there's no need to film all this. I just want to point that out. So if you got a feeling about something and it doesn't seem to be right, it probably isn't right. So stop. You know, I'm fortunate because I got pieces and stuff like that, but if you find yourself in that situation, then it's got a set of inserts in it, and you're trying to use a stock set of solid push rods, they probably won't be long enough if you're using the tall, solid lifters. So, you know, again, parts are mismatched and passed around, and things get put in things. But this angle is the worst angle in the front. And as you can see now, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. But I'm going to go along and set these, then we'll try again. It's locked. So as part of the quest today is to hook up the motor and get my pieces all together. And you know, no matter how organized you think you might be, sometimes I use stuff up. And I just went to hook my motor up, started to get the pieces together, and I went, top motor mount. And I always like to use a nice heavy duty type top motor mount. I've used them over and over and over. And I think on my last application when I had it on the test stand, I actually used that motor mount. Put it in the bike. So now I'm back to try and find one, and I look through my box and there's nothing in there. But I'm thinking that I might have some down in my lower stash here, so I'm gonna have a look and see. So I'm thinking that down in here somewhere, like those handlebars. One other spot I got to check out is this little mount spot here for our brace for our carburetor. And I'm pretty sure I ran a tap through it before, but I don't want to take any chance on cross-threading anything. So I just oiled down our screw, oiled it up, and we're going to try and get it in there. You can feel it kind of starts where it wants to go there, and then mine kind of fetches up a little bit. But often it's just tight. Just slowly edge it on in there. For the minute that it takes to just run through these, you know, even though I ran a tap through them before, it's so easy to get something cross-threaded and starting to bind up in there. And before you know it, you're in too deep and you balled her up. Still more to the bracket, so we may have to put a washer underneath here just to extend it down a little bit. It's still going in there, but it's getting tougher as it goes, so I don't want to stress it. So make note, put a washer on, and we'll be all good. So I got a washer under it. Taking this on first and see where it's gonna sit, because I can always bend the bar. I got our backing plate kind of lined up, and you have to make sure that you get this in this indentation here when you're going to install this, or you'll bend that over, and when you go to bend it back, it will snap off. It will snap. It's a little piece of hardened metal that can only be bent once, one way, and that's about it. I'm just trying to mount this up to see how much of a spacer I'm going to need on the right hand side, and to align my carburetor as well before I finally tighten up my clamps in the back side. Stick them in, I know where they are. Once we're ready for final assembly, I'll take them out and Loctite them all. But for now, this is what we want to see, how far we're lined up here, how in line we are with the hole, and unfortunately I'm lined right up with the hole here. When I look straight through here, we're dead on, so pretty good guess. So now I just need to get a little spacer washer to go in this area in here, in between. I'll measure that up and get something that just fits in there nice, and a bolt to go through and lock that in place. Then that'll be good to go. So I just kept fiddling with stuff here and loosened this off because this bracket will slide in and out there. And I've got a nice little piece of aluminum here, all machined out, that'll fit just nicely. And if I place my bracket in behind, I hesitate to use the word perfect, but it looks pretty close. So I think I'm going to go with that. Now I'm just going to snug it up there. Now I've got a little bolt that's got a little head on it. A 1/4 inch core started on it. Everything appeared to be alright, but when I go to fit it in the slot here, it doesn't want it. It's just a little bit small and wants to spin around in there, and therefore I couldn't tighten it. So we've got ourselves a little nut, a little fine thread nut here, which is the head is the right size for the indentation here. And we've got a little, about 1/4 inch spacer here that we dug out of our junk, which we think will just go in there nicely. And that will go right through. Alright, so I do want this to be loose up top here, and I do have it loose because I want to see if I'm going to get any oil through it. Just pulling the rubber back as well. It won't take much when the time comes. I'll put a rag there because we'll get a bunch of oil out there when we first turn it over. Alright, carbs on, carbs in place. Okay, I need to button up the carb in the back. We'll get that done, snug that up, make sure that's all tight. Alright. And we just kind of get this snug down, and then I can figure out where my brace here is going to go. One of them fine holes. Snug them up on the motor. So now we're just going around doing the last bunch of things here. We've gone through and we've checked everything. I've made sure this is torqued down, and it's torqued down to my engine. My engine's torqued down to the stand. The stand's torqued down to the floor. Everything's torqued down. We've lined our sprockets up in lines to run our chain. We always have to set that to see where it's going to go exactly. So that's all done. We just got to lock it in place here. I'm going to torque the back nut in there, about 150 pounds. And then we'll probably hook the lines up and start running some oil through it and make sure that the whole system is pre-oiled before we ever hit the start button. Now I have this cheap ignition in here again. I suckered myself in and I bought one again. The last one fried up on the stand, and I chalked it up, and maybe I was stupid, you know. So today we're going to follow the instructions right to a T, and then we'll see if I go to hook it up, all of a sudden it goes psst. And that's the end of that, and I'll have to find something else to put in it, but we'll try it. So we're gonna start by getting some of our lines hooked up here. My new rubber plugs off. And while I'm taking this plug out where the check ball is, if you recall, back when I was putting it together, I didn't have the proper spring for in there. So I had to order the proper spring for it, and we've since gotten the new spring. So I'm going to go get it, and we're going to put one in. So now that I've remembered to change the spring in there, the length becomes pretty obvious. So it certainly regulates a different oil pressure. Now we're going to get our oil can. So we're just going to pull our little spring out for the moment. Set it aside. And we're going to take our oil can and fill that up right there. Up. Now we'll take our plugs out so it'll be easier to turn over. And I'm just going to rotate it a little bit. Gotta just stop and get some 1/4-inch nuts for under here, under our shield there. Just in case the chain blew off, we don't want it blowing off as well. And I see there's no nuts on there. We'll go around and check everything before we fire it up to make sure that everything's tightened down the way it should be. Once she starts rolling, she wants to keep rolling. So, all right. So I think we got everything hooked up here today. I've kind of just been going through and checking all my contact points, making sure everything's tight. And right now we've got the plugs out of it, and I've primed the pump here. So I'm just going to turn it over a bit to see if I get some oil pressure. I also have these off up here, so I'm going to be looking for oil pressure up there. But I don't want to run it for too long here, so we'll just try a little bit here and see what happens. There we go. Got oil up top, just pouring out, and that's what we want to see right up here. We want to see the oil coming out there, so we know that is good. So we'll try to get that hooked back up. I don't have much faith in the oil pressure gauge that's on here, so I'm going to replace it with a brand new one so that I'm sure. Yeah, making sure she's up here. That tells you that it's pumping through there, and would have been to the lifter blocks, but it's not now. So we'll just try it one more time, and then if my oil pressure gauge doesn't come up here, I'm going to switch out the gauge, but we'll give her a chance. I can see my oil returning here, going in and returning back, going in and returning back. So I think I got a problem with this gauge. So we'll take it off, replace the gauge, and take it from there. So here we are, April 4th or 5th. Guys think they're in a hurry to get their bike going. This is what happens to us. It's nice, and then we get this crap again. Smelt snow. For those on the East Coast, the Blue Nosers, smelt snow. So just to be sure now, before I just go and stick another oil gauge in here, I'm just going to turn it over and make sure that I've got oil coming out here in this area. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just enough to make a mess. Got our new gauge ready to go in. I think that's good. Now we're looking for a little oil pressure. About 18 pounds on there now, but I got no plugs in or anything else, so it's you know, that's not bad when the whole system's wide open. So we'll just go along and set up our ignition system and get our pipes on it and get things ready to fire up. I think she's pretty well ready to put it to her. I'll have to check and see what I got for gas. I'll have some fresh gas in it. Well, we're gonna get down here and hook these wires up now, and I've used one of these handy dandy little ignition systems before, and this one was so cheap I thought I'm gonna try it again. Maybe I'm a sucker for punishment, maybe I'm not, I don't know, but we're gonna set it up here and we're gonna hook it up the way it's supposed to be hooked up. Should I put it right here so we can see it for eye when I turn the switch on? Now the last time I did this, it just went poof. Power on. Well, didn't smoke up. Didn't smoke up. Let's stick a plug in it. Should be able to stick a plug in it, lay it across there, and it'll snap for us. That's shorting out there, and that shouldn't be. She's fried. She's fried. Can't get it to activate anywhere. And nothing there. Just a piece, another piece of crap. So we'll see if we can get these stuck on. So I guess we're going to give her a go. We got her all hooked up and wired up and some gas into it. I think everything's right, so I guess we'll just have to press the button and
fire her up.
See what happens.
Margaret.
Wow, that's quiet. The solids in it. You know, usually they're a little ticky.
Yeah.
But we've got them set pretty good there. Lots of oil pressure. Oil pressure popping up about 40 pounds, I guess, on there. So that's really good for
wow.
Shovel.
Sounds good.
Does sound good, doesn't
Sounds good, yes.
it? Really sounds
yes.
good. Yeah!
Margaret will be pleased.
Margaret will be pleased. Well, there she goes.
Yeah.
We just got to do a few heat cycles on the motor and, you know, torque everything down and go around and check it all. But now you've got to hear it running. I'm pretty stoked. What about you?
I think it's wonderful.
There you go.
Imagine how it would be if it wasn't wonderful.
The boss says it's okay.
If it didn't work, I mean, I'd have to live with you for the rest of the day.
Well, there you go.
That wouldn't be so great.
There you go. Lucky for you, that don't happen too often.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky. I knew it was going to work great. Why wouldn't it?
You always wonder. You always wonder when you hit the button. You wonder what it's going to do. That's smart.
That's
hot. That's hot. Better not lean on that. Jeez Louise.
Woo.
Well, that's wonderful. All right, so we can go along and work on other things, and we'll heat it up and do the heat cycles and torque it all down. And that's a big piece of the puzzle for Margaret that's ready to go. Finally.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk. So now we can get on to the other things and keep plugging away. But I feel good to hear her sitting there idling like that. Beauty and quiet as a church mouse. All right.
Nice.
It is nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really pleased with it. That's quiet.
That's, yeah, really, really quiet. No rattle, no nothing, no ting ting.
Well, I think of it, we finally got our mess cleared up with the mail here. For the first day or so in April, we couldn't get anything to seemingly to work right. But now we're able to ship stuff, being it is the way it is. So shout out to you, AJ. Your piston plates are on the way. They're coming down to you, so I'm sure you'll enjoy using them, and hopefully they'll make your life a little bit easier. And Keith, you browbeat me for the other pieces. I took them right off my motors, like I took the food out of my mouth. And I'm gonna send you my plates there. I'm gonna have to make up some other ones for you, but I appreciate it. So we're getting those on the way too. All the best. So if you enjoyed this video today, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, do those kind of things. We're very lucky to get the motor fired up on Margaret, and it's a big relief off my head. I still have to do the transmission in the next few weeks. We'll do that. But now we're stripping things and getting stuff out for powder. The fun part starts where you start assembling things with the new pieces in there, and everything's painted and everything's clean, and I really enjoy that. So stick with us. We'll see you next week.